live. Don't eat it all up when it's time to give.
פתאום הכל קורה, הכל קיים, מרגישים שכל אחד קשור לכל אחד, לכל העולם, אף אדם לא לבד אף פעם, כל האנושות היום אצלי בדם, הקפיץ מתוח והכפתור לחוץ, וכל העולם מתחילים עכשיו לרוץ פיצוץ, עכשיו כבר אין לנו תירוץ, זאת רגבת של ייחוד, אף אחד לא יישאר בחוץ, אומרים הכל לטובה, סיסמאות יפות על סטרו לא יביאו אהבה, בוא נעשה פה שינוי, הולכים על כל הקופה, הופכים הסתר לגילוי, ניתן תקווה ונתעורר מהחלום, בוא נראה פה הקשר שעובר על פי תהום, נתגבר על המשבר, בוא נחליט פה את הסרט, בואו נגלה מציאות אחרת. מציאות אחרת.
When you want it all, just put it away. Who is the fool who thinks it'll stay? So this is the way, when it's time to live. Don't get it all up, when it's time to give. You wanna swallow the world, but your will falls apart. You'll find the answer in your heart. Come on and open up your heart. Come on, your life is in your heart. Come on, your life's about to start.
Let's go deep in your heart. Explore pleasure, pain. What's your sensation? Do you feel it feel real in place? Imagination, good vibration, heart-to-heart conversation, translated to love liberation. Changes first in human relations, above color culture, any separation. Nation to nation, collaboration, more inspiration. It's a celebration. Dance if you're tired of exploitation, discrimination, separation, degradation of our younger generation. Clap your hands in anticipation. Open your hearts, love activation. We take it all in the music, again and again. Living for each other. Everybody wins.
One love. When you want it all, just push it away. Who is a fool who thinks it will stay?
So this is the word when it's time to leave. Don't need it a lot when it's time to give.
You want it all, just push it away. Who is a fool who thinks it'll stay? So this is the word when it's time to live. Don't eat it all up when it's time to give. You'll find the answer in your heart. Come on and open up your heart. Come on, your life is in your heart. Come on, your life's about to start.
This is from Mata Torah, item 16. Remember, this is Baal Salam speaking right to us. In the above words, we find a way to understand our concept from above, about the contents of that mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself. How the Torah compels us to do something that cannot be done. Indeed, know that for this reason, the Torah was not given to our holy fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but was held until the exodus from Egypt, when they came out and became a whole nation of 600,000 men of 20 years of age or more. For then, each member of the nation was asked if he agreed to that exalted work. And once each and every one in the nation agreed to it in heart and soul, and said, "We will do and we will hear," it then became possible to keep the whole of the Torah, and that which was previously impossible became possible. This is because it is certain that if 600,000 men abandon their work for the satisfaction of their own needs and worry about nothing but standing guard so that their friends will never lack a thing, and moreover, that they keep it with a mighty love, with their very heart and soul, in the full meaning of the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself, then it is beyond doubt that no man of the nation will need to worry about his own well-being. Because of that, he becomes completely free of securing his own survival and can easily keep the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself, obeying all the conditions given in items 3 and 4. After all, why would he worry about his own survival when 600,000 loyal lovers stand by, ready with great care to make sure he lacks nothing of his needs. Therefore, once all the members of the nation agreed, they were immediately given the Torah, because now they were capable of keeping it. But before they had multiplied into a whole nation, and certainly during the time of the fathers, who were unique in the land, they were not qualified to truly keep the Torah in its desirable form. This is because with a small number of people, it is impossible to even begin with engagement in mitzvot between man and man to the extent of love thy friend as thyself, as we have explained in items 3 and 4. This is why they were not given the Torah. The end for now.
Awesome. Thanks, Merrill. We're going to do a quick workshop question. I'll read the question, and then Albert, if you could send us off into the breakout rooms. It's awesome reading. Obviously, that's why we're all here. So the question is, how do you trust that the 10 will care for all your spiritual needs? So one more time. How do you trust the 10 to care for all your spiritual needs? All right, and let's remember the rules of the workshop. It's not about information, it's about connection.
So how do you trust that the 10 will care for all of your spiritual needs? Well, if you have trouble trusting that, then use faith above reason to start with.
I think practicing in the workshop will help build that trust also.
And here we together, we're all our goal, our intention is to be, as we're taught, to put the friends' needs, their goal, their attainment ahead of anything. And so, as we do that, then you can count on your friends, and that's what they're here for. That's this environment.
Roll on that, Mike. This faith and bestowal, as opposed to knowing and I forgot yet, and receiving. If I can focus on this idea that I need not matter. It need not matter to me as I focus on bestowal, what happens to me, and just take that leap and try not to even think of what will happen if somebody pulls the rug out from under me. And next thing I know, I'll be walking on air and not even realize.
It's to annul oneself within the safe environment of the tent, of the friends, the people in this specific environment who are doing this study, and to become active participants.
James, what's wrong with your body, man?
James, what's coming out when we hear you is like Mickey Mouse, but even higher. It's like, it's the chipmunks times 10. We can't understand it. But yeah, maybe log out and come back in. It might solve your problem. I don't know. But in the chat, there's one from Oscar who is visiting. He's in Turkey right now. Or I mean, wherever he said he was. Because Creator is behind each friend in 10. Trusting 10 is trusting the Creator. Here's where both styles work. We can call it Leonardo.
Hello, do you hear me well? I think my Wi-Fi is a little slow today.
Your voice is loud and clear.
Okay, what I think is when you trust someone when the people you trust, you think is reliable of people, it's a good people, and you think is working in your good. And before trust the 10, I was thinking how people are in my 10. And I think my 10 are people with a lot of power, with a lot of force, and that is the people one can trust.
We got your back, Leonardo.
Can you hear me better now? Voila. We have to care about each other more than ourselves. That's the only way we'll ever get any further past our own egoistic, subjective behaviors. That's it. You have to be more objective, and objectivity is the ability to love everyone around you, where subject is yourself. Thanks.
Well, when we're in this 10, what are our needs? What are our spiritual needs? What really do we need to receive except that which we have, or something in order to bestow to the rest? Actually, there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to gain, because there's nothing to gain. We step out in boldness, man. Faith means we know what's going to happen because we're the one, it's coming through us. And it comes or we don't have it, and we will know on instantly and honestly and at all times.
We got to remind ourselves that we are 100% egoists. So we've got complete evil inclination. We will not trust. And this is the environment where we can actually practice and move our vessel of reception into vessel of bestowals. So it's about giving and really putting that into exercise and into practice. And the reforming light will create the trust if it's not available. So friends, it's about being active participants.
And as you said, Johnny, it's about bestowal, and we are hoping that our friends will come to bestowal, because that's how they will progress. And you know that your friends are hoping that same for you, and especially for the group as a whole.
Yeah, Mike, and the Kabbalists have laid it out perfectly for us, just a nice little roadmap for us to follow. And if you think about previously, we do things without trusting people, and we move forward, and we ride a roller coaster, mostly of suffering. So this method seems to make a whole lot of sense compared to what we've tried before.
Yes, and also trust is the first step to build something. If we don't trust we can build something. It's the first stone to a building or to a castle. The trust is when we all need to be put it on to have a great things. Sorry.
So that building, taste and see, faith above reason.
Why is it that no one wants to lay that first brick? You go to a dance club or whatever, nobody goes out on the dance floor, But as soon as one person has the nerve, suddenly the place fills up. It's like, I don't know why that works that way, but it seems like we're flock animals of some sort. But I'm here to tell you, I'll step out every time you need me to. I promise you that, people. Trust me, I want you to.
I also believe there's a unique trust just because we are already here. We've all been drawn to this place. So there's already created a unique trust between us because we're already studying and on that path. So the more we get to know each other outside that path, even in the cyber world, the more that trust snowballs and the higher we can help each other.
By always being sensitive to our circle, to our 10, and realizing when somebody wants to express, I'm more focused on hearing from you than from myself, and to read what pops up in the chat.
And as Oscar just did, he said, we also came to this group and started studying Kabbalah because we found out that any environment other than this 10 is not trustable for spiritual needs.
It's what I can give, not what I can receive.
And also trust the 10 is also trust the creator, because the creator is putting us in this moment, because surely to stay, to be in that moment, in this moment at this time for the creator, and creator put me in that 10. If I trust the creator, I need to trust the 10 too.
Remember, Zohar said, don't waste a second here, man. Just because people are coming back, don't stop what you thought. Keep going. You know, one thing I could say to keep this alive here is that, you know, if we don't trust another person, that too is a gift. Because I'm telling you, trust me, and if you can't, you know, you're seeing me through your flaws, or I'm seeing you through my flaws, and that too is a gift. That too is a descent. That gives you the left line that you now know where you need to do your work to move that thing to where you can bring that trust. And that actually is a great thing to have happen.
All right. L'chaim, guys, that was really, really amazing. I haven't seen you guys, I believe, since the first lesson of when we started this young group, and to be honest, I don't recognize you. I don't mean like externally, I don't recognize you. I mean internally, from the way I hear you guys conducting the workshop to the way that you guys hosted this little preparation. This has been beyond amazing. Really, I feel like this is a young group, but these are already, you know, friends with me on the path that have been here for 10, 20 years, speaking things that it's really, really amazing. Amazing, guys. L'chaim to you guys. I'm beyond impressed. Can we start? Is that the end of the preparation? We can jump into yeah? Okay, so great job, guys. By the way, for those of you that maybe haven't seen me in the first lesson when I was around, my name is Albert. I'm here right now in the New York Center of Bnei Baruch. And I'm going to help to, I don't know if instructor is the right word, but I'm going to help to lead tonight's meeting. Tonight we have a very special Rabash article, as always, prepared for you guys. And before we jump into it, we want everyone to open it up. It's on page 21 of Rabash, the Social Writings. So if you can just open that up, page 21 of Rabash, the Social Writings, according to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself. Now, before we jump into that, let's just take maybe 2 minutes, really, not more than 2 minutes, and hear a little bit about what is going on in the tens. I believe we recently just, created the tens between us. We're officially, a 10, and we have our laboratory with which to work with. So maybe one person from each 10, the men's 10, the women's 10, can give us a little update. What did you guys do this past week? Did you find the time to get together for some kind of a meeting, to discuss something, to plan something, to unite? So let's say one person from each 10, give us a little update. What's going on in your 10?
Well, for the women, we meet every day on GroupMe, and we did have kind of a homework lesson from Zohar, and we worked on that together. We met on Zoom a couple of times too, and we're really getting to know each other well.
Okay, thank you, Linda. And let's hear the men.
And for the men, we've been progressing and growing. It's been exciting. We've been working on Zoom. Today we had record attendance. We had just this morning. We all got together, and there was so many, like we just keep growing and progressing, and the work that we're doing together it's been exciting for all of us.
Can you share what did you guys specifically do this past week? Like meetings, or what meetings, or did you guys have time to do the assignment for the workshop? Yeah. Oh, you guys had a meeting and everything? Oh, everything's good?
I'll speak for Tim if I have to. Tim is the man. He put together this Zoom for us, you know, and and we got in there and we got the lesson and we got the assignment for Zohar through Katya, and we did it, man. And we did it once, and we did it again this morning. And, you know, if we had more time, we'd do it a third time, you know. So, you know, because every time we do it, we're getting more and more out of it. It's not like you can do too much. We're really trying to put ourselves in it, and it's happening, man. It's really happening.
Okay, l'chaim. So just 2 words on the assignments, on the tens, on the meetings. Just so you guys know, all of Bnei Baruch is structured as tens. This isn't just something that we're doing here, but in general, I also have a 10, Zohar has a 10, everybody has a 10. In fact, if you don't have a 10, it's almost as if you don't exist in the spiritual system. This is the beginning of what it means to strive towards spirituality. And just like you guys had a meeting, we also in our 10s, we have really the same thing. In my 10, for example, we meet every day at 4 p.m. And we discuss maybe the daily, there's maybe like a daily direction that we receive from Rav or something of that sort. We have a little workshop, a little reading, things of that nature. But every day we find time to meet. And of course, there's the lessons with Rav over which we unite every day as well. There's plenty of opportunities to unite and to connect. We just need to start to get the ball rolling, so to speak. It's very nice that you guys already found time to meet, created a group, me or WhatsApp, some kind of communication. Great job. So let's jump into today. Is there any other thoughts, comments, questions before we jump into the article? Okay, great. So let's jump into the article. Today, I have to say, this is probably one of my favorite Rabash articles of all time, because it gives us this really sharp outlook of are we aspiring for the things that we need to aspire for? Do we have the right attitude towards the friends? Because these aren't just the friends after all. These are the pieces of my soul, and we need to have this correct attitude towards them in order to recreate that soul and to reveal the creator within it. And here he'll give us really the foundation of how do we do that? How do we do that? What's the attitude we need to have towards the friends in order between us to reveal the creator? It's really that sharp and that sweet. So this is on page 21. How are we on time? Let's see. I personally love to read through all the articles, straight through, because it gives a certain feeling. And then we can go, excerpt by excerpt, paragraph by paragraph, and see what we can pull out of it, do a little workshop here and there, and etc. So let's try it out. Maybe I will ask for some help. It would actually be good to get some help. Who is interested in maybe helping us to read through some of the article? I want to read through this entire thing, starting on page 21. It's Adam. Who else? I didn't see. Okay. Adam, Lance. Let me just write it down. So I have Adam, Lance. Who else? Linda.
I would like to help.
Kathy. Okay. Good. Okay. So between us, we'll split it. Myself, Adam, Lance, Linda, Kathy. We'll all take a paragraph or two, and we'll just we'll go in that order. Okay. 1 second. I'll write it in chat. Albert, Adam, Lance, Linda. We'll just feel it out. We'll each take a paragraph or two. I'll start it off, and sorry. Okay. So let's start off. Page 21. Rabash's social writings, according to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself. According to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself, all the details of the 612 mitzvot are contained in this rule. It is, as our sages say, the rest is its commentary. Go study. This means that by keeping the 612 mitzvot, You will be rewarded with the rule, love thy friend. And following that, the love of God. Thus, what does love of friends give us? It is written that by gathering a few friends together, since they each have but a small force of love of others, meaning they can carry out the love of others only potentially, when they implement it, they remember that they have decided to relinquish self-love in favor of love of others. But in fact, one sees that he cannot relinquish any pleasure of the will to receive in favor of another, not even a bit. Adam, go ahead.
However, by assembling a few people who agree that they have to achieve the love of others, when they annul themselves before one another, they are all intermingled. Thus, in each person there accumulates a great force according to the size of the association, and then each can execute the love of others in actual fact. So what do the details of the 612 mitzvot give us, which we said are in order to keep the rule, since the rule is kept by love of friends? And we see that in reality, there is love of friends among the secular too. They too gather in various circles in order to have love of friends. What then is the difference between religious and secular? Go ahead, Lance.
The verse says in Psalms 1, nor sat in the seat of the scornful. We must understand that the prohibition of the seat of the scornful, if he slanders or speaks idle words, then the prohibition is not because of a seat of scornful. So what does the seat of scornful give us? Actually, the meaning is that when a few people come together for the purpose of love of friends, with the intention that each and every one will help his friend and improve his corporeal state, each anticipates that by having more meetings, they will profit from the society and improve their corporeal state. However, after all the meetings, everyone calculates and sees how much they have received from the association for the self-love, what the will to receive has gained by that, since they invested time and effort to benefit the society. So what have they gained by it? One could probably succeed more if engaged in self-benefit, at least the part of his own efforts, but, quote, I entered the association because I thought that through it I would be able to gain more than I could gain alone. But now I see that I have gained nothing, close quote. Then one regrets it and says, I would be better off using my own little strength instead of giving my time to society. However, now that I have given my time to society in order to gain more properties through help from the society, I finally realized that not only did I not gain anything from society, I even lost what I could have gained alone. When someone wishes to say that love of friends should be engaged in for the purpose of bestowal, that everyone should work to benefit others, everyone laughs and mocks him. It seems to them like a kind of joke. And this is a seat of seculars. It is said about it, quote, but sin is a reproach to any people. In every grace that they do, they should do for themselves. Such a society detaches one from holiness and casts him into the world of mockery. This is the prohibition of the seat of the scornful. Next.
Our sages said about such societies, disperse the wicked, better for them and better for the world. In other words, it is better that they do not exist. However, it is the opposite with the righteous. Assemble the righteous, better for them and better for the world. What is the meaning of righteous? It is those who want to keep the rule. Love thy friend as thyself. Their sole intention to exit self-love and assume a different nature of love in others. And although it is a mitzvah, commandment, that should be kept, and that one can force upon oneself to keep, love is still something that is given to the heart, and the heart disagrees with it by nature. What then can one do to make love of others touch the heart? Next.
This is why we were given the 612 mitzvot. They have the power to induce a sensation in the heart. However, since it is against nature, that sensation is too small to have the ability to keep love of friends de facto, even though one has a need for it. Hence, now he must seek advice on how to actually implement it. The advice for one to be able to increase his strength in the rules, quote, love thy friend, unquote, is by love of friends. If everyone is nullified before his friend and mingles with him, they become one mass, where all the little parts that want the love of others unite in a collective force that consists of many parts. And when one has great strength, he can execute the love of others. Next.
I'll continue.
You're muted, Albert.
Sorry.
I think Johnny wanted to read too.
Yeah, I'm just getting into the paragraph. Sorry, because I don't have the book yet.
I'll start for now, Jenny, then you can jump in. And then you can achieve the love of God. But the condition is that each will annul before the other. However, when he is separated from his friend, he cannot receive the share he should receive from his friend. Thus, everyone should say that he is nothing compared to his friend. It is like writing numbers. If you first write 1 and then 0, it is 10 times more. And when you write double 0, it is 100 times more. In other words, if his friend is number 1 and the 0 follows it, it is considered that one receives from his friend 10 times more. And if he says that he is double 0 compared to his friend, he receives from his friend 100 times more. However, if it is to the contrary, and he says that his friend is 0 and he is 1, then he is 10 times less than his friend, 0.1. And if he can say that he is 1 and he has 2 friends who are both zeros compared to him, then he is considered 100 times less than them, meaning he is 0.01. Thus, his degree lessens according to the number of zeros he has from his friends. John, you ready?
Yet, even once he has acquired, oh God. Sorry guys, just continue because my screen's playing up on me.
Yet, even once he acquires that strength and can keep the love of others in actual fact and feels his own gratification as bad for him, still do not believe in yourself. Thus, there must be fear of falling into self-love in the middle of the work. In other words, should one be given a greater pleasure than he is used to receiving, although he can already work in order to bestow with small pleasures and is willing to relinquish them, he lives in fear of great pleasures. This is called fear, and this is the gate to receive the light of faith called the inspiration of divinity. As it is written in the Salam commentary, by the measure Fear is the measure of faith.
Hence, we must remember that the matter of love thy friend as thyself should be kept, because it is a mitzvah, since the Creator commanded to engage in love of friends. And Rabbi Akiva only interprets this mitzvah that the Creator commanded. He intended to make this mitzvah into a rule by which all the mitzvot would be kept because of the commandment of the Creator, as well as for self-gratification. In other words, it is not that the mitzvah should expand our will to receive, meaning that by keeping the mitzvah, we should be generously rewarded. Quite the contrary, by keeping the mitzvah, we will reach the reward of being able to annul our self-love and achieve the love of others, and subsequently, the love of God. Next.
Now we can understand what our sages said about the verse, the Samtim, place them. It comes from the word sam, potion, as well as placing. If granted, it is the portion of life. If not granted, it is a portion of death. Not granted means that one engages in Torah and mitzvot to multiply self-love. So the body would acquire possessions in return for its work. If granted, one's self-love is nullified, and he aims to receive a reward that is the strength for love of others. By this, he will reach the love of the Creator, that his only wish will be to give contentment to the Creator.
Very nice. Okay, thoughts, comments, questions? It's quite an article, huh? Zoom is open. Anyone? Thoughts, comments, questions?
Yeah, I think it comes very clear that this is different. There's no goal to help ourselves here with give ourselves anything. The goal is to it's so different to come to love of others and annul ourselves. That is just that's a completely different thing than we see anywhere.
Yeah, Mike, and to add to that, the when we're working in the groups, when we're working and expecting a result for ourselves, then we're not trying to practice bestowal.
So in addition to that, so that means 6:12. So now we're in 6:11. Comment mitzvah.
Question?
Yeah, that's a question.
The question. Okay, so the mitzvot. What are the mitzvot? The Torah and mitzvot. We hear this all the time, and if we haven't yet received the definition, definitely write this down in order to not be confused in the future. The Torah and mitzvot. When we hear the Kabbalists write the word Torah and mitzvot, what are they referring to? Are they referring to all the different mitzvot that we have to accomplish? I don't know, plowing the field a certain way or doing something with our hands and feet? Not really. When the Kabbalists are referring to the Torah and the mitzvot, they're not referring to the physical book Torah or all of the different, commandments that are written within it, but they're specifically referring to the reforming light. When they say the word Torah, they are referring to the reforming light. As there's a verse, I've created the evil inclination, I've created for it the Torah, the light in it reforms. Right? There's a saying like that, meaning the word Torah. If you see that word, you're translating it into the light, into a special. You could say it's a special spice, it's a special something that has the ability to change our nature. And what then are the mitzvot? The mitzvot are the actions that we take in order to draw this light of the Torah, in order to perform these different corrections upon our desire. So the mitzvot, not all of these different things that we read about, plowing the field, doing certain rituals, but really the mitzvot is, we could say, the work in the 10. the work in the 10, all of these different corrections that take place in our effort to reach love your friend as yourself. This we could say are the mitzvot, the actions that we take in order to correct our desire. And the Torah is the force that comes and corrects our desire. Okay? So these are the two very basic definitions. Everyone should know this almost by heart and not be confused by these words when he sees them in the future. More thoughts, comments, questions?
This idea of the fear of it being equal to faith, it's like this fear I feel or I sense is this power of bestowal coming through me that despite my best efforts, I'm going to want to take it for myself and not give it to Johnny, you know, not give it to Tim or Mike or anyone else because it tastes too good to me. And unless I can keep it, I want to show it off. I don't want to give it to anyone. And I really am struck by that passage of why we should be afraid of that, because then we're not the zero, we're the one in this scenario.
Yeah, I think the fear is the greatest thing, because as long as you fear God because you're going to care for yourself more than your friends, I think it subdues the ego, because you know God is greater than all of us. All of us combined will never be as bright as that light. So the fear of falling out of the love of friends becomes not only a good thing, but a spiritual motivator to become closer to that grand light of the universe.
Okay, so very nice. We saw that we got a lot of interesting discernments out of the article. Let's go through it again, and this time we will stop a little bit, maybe each paragraph or every other paragraph, and talk a little bit and do a few workshops on some of the key principles here. So from top, according to, I think I actually have this in the computer. According to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself. Second. Okay, so let's see what is Rabash trying to really pass along to us here. According to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself, all the details of the 612 mitzvot, the commandments, are contained in this rule. It is as our sages say, the rest is its commentary. Go study. This means that by keeping the 612 mitzvot, we'll be rewarded with the rule, love thy friend, and following that, the love of God. In other words, the main commandment that we have to work upon is love your friend as yourself. Everything else is written as its commentary. This is the main thing, and everything else is secondary. This is really the main intention that we need to reach. So he continues. So what does love of friends give us? It is written that by gathering a few friends together, since they each have but a small force of love of others, meaning they can carry out the love of others only potentially, when they implement it, they remember that they have decided to relinquish self-love in favor of love of others. But in fact, one sees that he cannot relinquish any pleasure of the will to receive in favor of another, not even a bit. So there is this goal, right? There's this goal that we're trying to reach, love of friends, and through that, at the end, the love of the Creator. This is really the steps. So how do we reach the love of friends? Rabash is saying that this is really what we need to put in front of us and start working towards that. But when we start assembling and start analyzing, do we actually want it? Do we have it? Is it in our power? We see that we're all weak towards that. It's something maybe not even realistic, or everyone has his own ego that's pulling him in a different direction. So then the question is, how do we reach the goal? Where do we get the strength in order to implement the love of others and to reach the goal? So here he continues and answers that. However, by assembling a few people who agree that they have to achieve the love of others, when they annul themselves before one another, they're all intermingled. Thus, in each person there accumulates a great force, according to the size of the association. And then each can execute the love of others in actual fact. Okay, so we want to reach this goal. We don't have the strength, But if we are, as you write, intermingled, if we annul ourselves towards the friends, towards the 10, and we are intermingled with them, then we find something special. Then we find not my own personal strength, not everyone's individual force, but we find a different force there. And this is the strength that can help us to be above our nature and can help us to reach love of friends in actuality, to reach love of friends despite of our nature. To truly have the different nature, it will give us the strength for that. Now the real question is, how do we extract that? Right? We know there's a certain force. We need it to be above our nature. How do we extract that force from the society? How do we get it? So let's see what he writes. So what are the details of the 612 mitzvot give us, which we said are in order to keep the rule, since the rule is kept by love of friends. And we see that in reality, there's love of friends among the secular too. They too gather in various circles in order to have love of friends. What then is the difference between religious and secular? So first of all, when we hear this word religious and secular in a Kabbalistic text, it's not implying, someone who is, Orthodox religion or something and someone who doesn't. But just like Torah and mitzvot has a special definition, this also has a special definition. So what is the definition of religious or religion when you see these in the Kabbalistic text? Baal Salam, when he writes about it, I believe in the writings of the last generation, he says religion is the religion of, it just escaped me. It's the religion of godly unity. There it is. It's the religion of godly unity. It's those that are seeking to just like us, to reveal the Creator. This is what he calls religion. So it's not really referring to, like in the typical sense that we think religious, secular, but it's really referring to those that are studying Kabbalah and maybe those that aren't. Okay, this is another definition we need to keep in mind. If he's referring to a certain group, maybe religious, he means he's using a certain writing style, but he's really referring to those that are in my 10 that are studying the wisdom of Kabbalah with me. Okay? And the secular could be those that are not interested in reaching love of friends, those that are not interested in revealing the Creator, just the rest of the world. That's on one level. On another level, it could also be that within the same society, something flying around here, within the same society that we're in, we have both these states. This is another interpretation, that within the same 10 that I'm in, let's say I'm with Adam, Lance, Tim, Mike, we have this one beautiful 10, and in one state we have, according to the definition of how a Kabbalist would define it, you would say, this is a Kabbalistic group. And in that same 10, a few seconds later, you could say, nope, this isn't a Kabbalistic group. Meaning, in one state, you could say, use the word, you could say religious, right? This is those that are aspiring towards, religion, so to speak. And then in another state, it could be a secular group. What does that mean? That means the very same group that I'm in could at some point be aspiring towards spirituality, and then at another point it could just be a group just like any other group. We're just like friends on the street. How are you? How's your wife? How are the kids? What's going on? And we just fall from the degree of a spiritual society to just being concerned with corporeal things. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the state. Why do we have such a fluctuation, right? That at some point we can be a society that's, in our 10 that we're all serious, and another point we could just be that we lose the sight of the goal and we're just thrown from our state and we're just like any other society. Why does the Creator do this to us? What is he trying to get out of putting us through these types of situations, that we have all these different fluctuations? We could do it in the General Assembly for now. Why does the Creator throw us into these opposing states?
To give us descents.
It's in opposites that we realize the importance of both sides.
When we lose the intention, we let weeds grow in our environment, as Mike reminded me yesterday.
It also gives us the capacity to actually experience, I call the ascent and descent, because we're doing both. And then we actually are in the middle. You're working with the society, people who want spirituality, and you're working with religion, people in there, some of them want spirituality, then you're working with the corp, or I call it whether a corporation or whatever you might want to call it, the corporal part. Those that might not, they're just, so you have all that tension. And to me, it's about life. Okay, thank you.
Well, and if our ego isn't presented to us, we can't correct it, right? So.
So have we felt these states? I mean, we've just recently started really working with the 10, but we have more or less had these workshops between us from the start. But have we felt the state? To what extent we could just like that be thrown out? As if from one point of view, one time we could be super serious, we could be, yes, this is it, this is the goal, and I'm in front of my 10. And another point it could be, oh, whoa, there's football and soccer, and there's some other stuff. There's my kids running around, and we felt just to what extent we could be, thrown out in the very same moment. We could both be, a serious Kabbalah student and a person who's not even on the path. Okay, let's hear a few impressions.
I find my mind wandering sometimes, and I have to force myself to get back on track.
Yeah, when we start workshopping and we talk, and I find when I talk too long, then this stuff happens, and then this happens, and I start rambling, and it's more ego involved.
Or if somebody brings up your favorite corporeal topic, trying to give a worldly example for the workshop answer, and then all of a sudden you're both talking about your favorite beer.
Bread and circuses were created for a reason, to keep you from certain paths. It just always goes back to me, bread and circuses always are created, so we're distracted from our goals in life.
It seems when I get exhausted on any given day, I can almost sense myself, falling, so to speak, or moving into the corporeal. So I'm beginning to try to notice that and pray at that time.
Very nice. These are some very advanced discernments. Really a sign of that we're beginning to do some spiritual work when we can already feel some kind of little bit of resistance, because this is a sign of growth, right? If you're not doing any work, you don't feel any good, any bad, nothing. But when you start to do work and you become stronger, then you're given a little bit of resistance, so you could become even stronger, and a little bit more, so you could become even stronger on top of that. So, sign that we're heading in the right direction. Good job, guys. Let's continue. Let's see. Where did we? Okay. The verse says, we're continuing on page 22 from the paragraph of the verse. The verse says, nor sat in the seat of the scornful. We must understand the prohibition of the seat of the scornful. If he slanders or speaks idle words, then the prohibition is not because of a seat of scornful. So what does a seat of scornful give us? Actually, the meaning is that when a few people come together for the purpose of love of friends, with the intention that each and every one will help his friend improve his corporeal state, each anticipates that by having more meetings, they will profit from society and improve their corporeal state. However, after all the meetings, everyone calculates and sees how much they have received from the association or the self-love, what they will to receive as gain by that, since they invested time and effort to benefit society. What have they gained by it? One could probably succeeded more if engaged in self-benefit, at least a part of his own efforts. But I entered this association because I thought that through it, I'd be able to gain more than I could gain alone. But now I see that I've gained nothing. Then one regrets it and says, I would be better off using my own little strength instead of giving my time to society. However, now that I've given my time to society in order to gain more properties through help from the society, I finally realized that not only did I not gain anything from society, I even lost what I could have gained alone. There's some very deep discernments Rabash is presenting for us. A lot of the times we go through this on the inside, but it's beautiful how he's able to capture these very deep inner emotions and put it down into words. So let's continue. When someone wishes to say that love of friends should be engaged in for the purpose of bestowal, that everyone should work to benefit others, everyone laughs and mocks him. It seems to them like a kind of joke. And this is a seed of seculars. Once again, keep in mind, when you see seculars or religious, etc., the interpretation that we were trying to reach right now, that we're trying to really see, is that it's not outside of us, but it's within us. Either within the 10, within my 10, that could be flip-flopping between these states, or even within myself, that I could be at some point this type, and another point I could be in another type. Okay, try to bring what we're reading closer to heart. Rabash is not writing about something that's happening in the outside world, but really what's happening within our hearts. So it seems to them like a kind of joke, and this is the seed of seculars. It is said about it, but sin is a reproach to any people, and every grace that they do for themselves. Such a society detaches one from holiness and casts him into the world of mockery. This is the prohibition of the seed of the scornful. Our sages said about such societies, disperse the wicked, better for them and better for the world. In other words, it is better that they do not exist. However, it is the opposite with the righteous. Assemble the righteous, better for them and better for the world. What is the meaning of righteous? It is those who want to keep the rule, love thy friend as thyself. Their sole intention is to exit self-love and assume a different nature of love of others. And although it is a mitzvah that should be kept, and that one can force oneself to keep, love is still something that is given to the heart, and the heart disagrees with it by nature. What then can one do to make love of others touch the heart? Okay, this is interesting. What is Rabash saying here? It says, once again, although it is a mitzvah, meaning there is a certain mitzvah to a commandment to love others, let's think of this word commandment, right? It's almost like a command, or almost like a certain demand, like someone is making of you, like, you need to do this. In other words, this is what you need to do. And he's writing, okay, if someone's demanding this of you, meaning then that's something that you can do. It's something that you can force yourself to do. But can you force yourself to love? Is that something that you could just force yourself? Like if someone has a demand of you, you go to work. Okay, so I go to sleep, I wake up, I drag my body to work. I do that. I can force my body to make it to that workplace. Okay, but in that workplace, if they tell you, okay, you love others, can I all of a sudden just press a button on myself, force myself, do something, and all of a sudden start loving others? That's a question. Is it something that we can do? It doesn't seem like it, right? What are your thoughts?
I was born like that. I'm a social beast. I was recently sick, and I was just miserable because I would rather have been in the 10 than laying with my edemic feet in the air on a bed 24 hours a day, because I only sleep 2 hours a day. So lots of reading and lots of prayer. So I think everybody has that problem that I've met, but I've always found it that I've always loved people a lot more than they've loved me in many cases.
Thanks, James. What I have to say is, I can't love at all. My nature is self-love. I'm not built to love anyone else ever for any reason, unless it benefits me. I like you if you're going to help me out. So any love I have to give doesn't come from me. It can't.
Okay. So
Yeah, that's tough to admit too. I mean, but it's true for me as well, Meryl.
okay, it's very good to be in this path. It's very good to be very direct, because in essence we understand our nature, and we need to. It's better to be direct. It's just like when you go to a doctor, even though sometimes things can be embarrassing, but you need to say what you need to say so the doctor can fix you. Same thing here. We need to be direct with ourselves. We need to be direct with our nature, and really, so it's good the type of attitude we have. So the question continues. Love is still something. 1 second. He says, although it is a commandment that should be kept and that one can force oneself to keep, love is still something that is given to the heart, and the heart disagrees with it by nature. And then he asks, what then can one do to make love of others touch the heart? So what can we do? If this is a commandment, right? Commandment, love your friend as yourself. We're commanded to do it. Commandment. What can we do to change the heart, even though our heart, by our nature, is the farthest thing from love of others? What are your thoughts?
Well, I could mock it up. I could pretend. I could act like I love someone, and at least make an effort at it.
We don't know what love is. We think we do, and we call a lot of things love, like I love him, I love her, I love fish, I love chocolate, I love you. But we don't know what it means, so we need a definition. And we have one in Kabbalah, which is to care for another the same way we care for ourselves. So that helps a lot to know that.
I think that when you're feeling disdain for someone and things, I feel like I'm carrying a burden. It's harder to do than to try to see their need, and if they're really irritating me and I can't overcome my disdain, then I pray for them, and it's a good thing to pray for that what is bothering you. You pray for them, but it actually helps you.
And to know ourselves before our friends. Yeah.
Just reading carefully and just attentively to these writings, it's also, one needs to almost feel the sage who actually wrote this, instead of using the mind to which will manipulate and try and understand all of this, and to rather use the heart and the faith to understand all this literature that's in front of us, and to feel the actual love and the power that this person who wrote this article is giving us. And one of us may even touch that blissful feeling of what love may is, like you guys have said. So it's very beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, let's continue a little bit. I think we'll do most of our workshops today right in the open. So if you haven't spoken, when we do the next one, there's going to be a few more. Just try to speak, or maybe Adam, you can help me out and point out some of the friends that haven't spoken yet for the future workshops, and so they can participate as well. Okay, so Ravash continues, says this is specifically why we were given the 612 mitzvot. They have the power to induce a sensation in the heart. However, since it is against nature, that sensation is too small to have the ability to keep love of friends de facto, even though one has a need for it. Hence, now he must seek advice on how to actually implement it. What is the advice? the advice for one to be able to increase the strength in the rule of thy friend is by love of friends. If everyone is nullified before his friend and mingles with him, they become one mass where all the little parts that want the love of others unite in a collective force that consists of many parts. And when one has great strength, he can execute the love of others. So here it is. If we want the strength, if we nullify it towards one another, if we mingle, we can find that strength in order to actualize the love of friends, in order to do something that is above our nature. How do we do that? How do we get that strength? Right. Oh well, he continues this. This is also very important. And then he can achieve the love of God. Okay. This is actually the chain. It's like the intention. It's the aim. We're not just practicing love of friends for the sake of loving the friends. We don't want to just be pretty people. We have a goal. We're doing this at the end of the day because we want to reach the love of God. So this is really the intention that he's setting it up really beautifully here. That we need the strength, right? We're aspiring to love others, to be above our nature. We don't have it. So we want to nullify ourselves towards the friends and receive all that strength. But in the end, we will love the friends, but not for the sake of loving the friends, for the sake of reaching what is called the love of God. This is the intention needs to be such that it includes this picture. It includes both the friends and the Creator in one. So he continues. But the condition is that each will annul before the other. However, when he is separated from his friend, he cannot receive the share he should receive from his friend. Thus, everyone should say that he is nothing compared to his friend. It is like writing numbers. If you first write 1 and then 0, it is 10 times more. And when you write 2 zeros, 00, it is 100 times more. In other words, if his friend is number 1 and the 0 follows it, it is considered that one receives from his friend 10 times more. And if he says that he is 00 compared to his friend, he receives from his friend 100 times more. This is interesting. All right, this is already, we're getting to something juicy here, right? We can see to what extent that this is something serious. This isn't something you could, I don't know, I don't think anyone has ever heard of some kind of method that has the ability to, through this type of way to reach some kind of force. What are your thoughts specifically on what we just read? The 0, 00, let's share just 2 or 3 thoughts and we'll do a little workshop.
Leonardo, friend, you always have great insights. You got something to share with us?
Yes, it's a very interesting part how each of the part of the 10 and of the part of the group add a little force to the group and a little force to bestow. And when all this little force to bestow concatenates and integrates one big force of all of us that we are bestowing constantly. It's like we are in constant movement, giving, and with this giving we are making a great, a big corp, a big soul. I see it that way.
I think it's.
I will phrase the question a little bit so we have a little bit what to talk about. So what does it mean that I'm a 0 towards my friend, right? And what am I a 0 towards him? Okay, towards what in his friend am I considered a 0 and him a 1? What does it mean?
I think it's the more we annul ourselves to our friend, the more we'll get from it.
I think everybody needs to realize that life and creation is a lot more mathematical than anybody ever thought. It's just true. If you look at Fibonacci series and the phi ratios, negativities go into zeros before ones, and positivities go into ones before zeros. And I'm just throwing it out there because it just coins in my mind gematria, which is Kabbalistic as well. All right, next, thanks.
Rabash is putting a little carrot out there for us to kind of, it seems like, incentivize us to really annul ourselves and what we will get in return if we're able to do so.
Carmina writes in the chat, what exactly means to nullify ourselves? Is it to be humble or getting away when feeling our presence hurts someone instead of helping?
This is the same question, right? What are we nullifying? What are we a zero towards the friends and they are one? All right, let's continue. Let's hear from somebody we haven't heard from. Selena, maybe?
It's 2 a.m. So can you please repeat the can you please repeat the question?
No problem. What does it mean that I'm a zero towards a friend? What am I a zero towards him? What am I nullifying? What am I? What is this? What is this work?
What am I to a friend?
Yes. What does it mean that I'm a zero towards the friend?
Zero.
Yes.
Can you make another round? I'll take the next one. It's really very hard when it's 2 a.m.
It's all right. We're still very impressed that you're with us, despite that it's 2 a.m. Thank you for your.
I'll take the next one. Sorry.
Okay. So who else? Maybe who we haven't heard from and wants to jump in and.
I'll try. Okay. I look at it, I love the concept of the zero, the negative zeros, because I look at the creator, he nullified himself and he got the creature. I said, well, we got the creature. And now the creature is now nullifying itself in the group of 10 and to reveal the creator. So to me, it's that's how I see it. It's like a reversal. The creator nullifying, now the creature is nullifying to reveal. Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I take?
I think also in order to, okay. I think in order to serve others, we need to put a step below the others. This is the only way, making me zero and the other a step up of me is the only way I can serve and I can be very useful in the way to bestow.
And Oscar wrote an example of the zero as, my only desire is for the friend to reach bestowal.
So, Selena, you wanted to add something?
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. For me, I don't know if this is the right answer, but putting myself on a zero level to a friend is it means like because a friend is a reflection of me, and I get to zero is like going back to it like a baby. Like when somebody is really, really pure, you know, innocent. And I putting myself in that level as putting a friend to that level. The pureness in me and in a friend. It's 2 a.m., so sorry if that's the right answer. it's like half of the brain is sleeping. Okay.
Very nice. Thank you for the answer and the beautiful example, Selena. This is even more important than the answer. So what is the zero? We talked about it, and it's really interesting because what everyone said, it's true, and there's different degrees of what it means to be a zero. From some point of view, yes, I'm a zero, they're a one. Them reaching spirituality is more important. That's one point of view. Then there's another point of view that it could be that I actually feel that I'm not a zero and they are not a one, and maybe I feel that I'm better than the friends. Maybe I'm greater than the friends. Maybe I'm look at me. I'm doing all these efforts in the society. I'm this big shot. I don't know. I'm an instructor. I have all sorts of pretty titles. People look up to me. In other words, it could also be the one and the zero that I feel that I'm greater than the friends, that I am more important than them, that who are they that I have to nullify towards them? They should nullify towards me. What's going on, you know? So there's different levels of this, and in between all of the different things we said as well. But at the end of the day, what do we need to do? Despite of the ego that jumps up, and despite how we see our friends, sometimes we see, but you know, for a fact, I see that I'm putting in more efforts than them. I'm definitely a one, they're the zero. I don't understand what Rabash has in this whole calculation. Sometimes we see it with our own eyes, and regardless of that, regardless of how we feel and see, we need to try to make the friends greater than us. We need to try to raise them above us and make it so that we are there to serve them. We're there that if we make them greater, this is how we can draw that force. We can draw that force that can, it's a different force. It's a spiritual force, specifically by this. So let's do one more question. Is it enough for me to lower myself? Let's say I am a zero. Or do I also have to make the friends greater than myself? Let's say they're a 10 or they're 100. Or maybe they're not a 10, they're not 100, but I'm a zero. Is that enough? Or do I also need to say the friends are 100, they're 1,000, they're even more greater than my zero? What do you think?
If you can't see your friends as greater than yourself, then you can't feel the connection, and then you can't draw the light. And if you're only drawing the light for your own gratification, then that doesn't do anything for the friends. It always has to be for the friends.
I think it's not only even enough to see myself as a zero compared to the 1, 10, 100 that my friends are, but to really envy them for what I see in them. And what I find to be rather amazing is some of the newest in the 10 are as much to envy as some of the ones that have seemed to have been involved for years. To me, this is very amazing. But that concept of envy, I think, is important too.
Yeah, since you have nothing to bestow to begin with, you can't receive anything from anyone that appears underneath you. So you have to raise the friends up in order to receive from them so you can bestow back to them.
Yes, and also I think if you are above your friend and you want to bestow to him, maybe him is gonna have the shame from receiving of you. But if you are below of your friends and you're bestowing, the shame, I think, disappear. There's no shame in that way.
There's a couple more answers in the chat too. Oscar immediately answered that you can't have one without the other, cannot happen without the other. And Carmina wrote, it doesn't matter if friends are 100 or 1,000 as long as I feel bestowal and doing the work in my heart. And we haven't heard from a few of you yet.
If I don't see my friend as greater than me, I cannot receive any of her or his attributes, such as desire for the goal. I cannot be inspired by them unless I see them as higher than I am.
Okay. So given that we need to work in both directions, right? From one point of view, I should try to lower myself, make myself to zero. They're more important than me, despite of how I see it with my eyes. Really, this is a key word, despite of how I see it. If these are my friends, if we're in the tent together, regardless of how I see them, I need to raise them. I need to see them as great. I need to raise them in my eyes and lower myself at the same time. So let's talk about how do we practically do this? How do we practically raise the friends in our eyes? So let's just focus on that aspect and give each other advice here. How do we practically raise the friends in our eyes?
When they're talking, to give them all of our attention, to just focus on what they're saying.
And to add to that, then is the way we hear it is to see them as if they are the creator.
To lovingly stand by and look for what that friend needs. To actually spend my concentration scanning that person up and down, searching for a place that he needs my help.
To know that what my friend in my 10 says, and like Linda said, to listen intently, to really hear what they are saying, but to also realize that what they say is exactly what the Creator would have me hear at that point.
Well, clearing my mind, making that zero a space for the friends and for the Creator.
Remembering always that my friends are the very special people in the world that have a point in the heart, and that we can only get there together, and always to just love them.
Oscar adds at times not to think that the friend needs help.
Very nice. So this was really amazing. I'm blown away just sitting here and listening to you guys and the answers that you guys are giving from the level that you're speaking. We are going to end soon because Selena really needs to go to sleep. It's 2-3 a.m. in the Philippines. Before we do, let's maybe just a quick round of reflections, impressions. What did we go through? I can put it in 2 sentences what Rabash really gave us in the article. That the love of friends is the most important thing, right? This is the key to the love of the Creator, and this is what we're focusing on achieving. Once we achieve that, we can achieve this thing called the love of God. but we don't have the strength, right? Our own nature is opposite to that. We don't have the strength to go against our own nature. We need a special force. Where is that force? Where do we find it? In the 10, in the society, in the group. We need to extract it somehow. How do we extract it? He gave us a very practical means. He said, if you're connecting to the friends, if you're trying to mingle with them, if you're trying to unite with them, specifically how? If you see them as great and yourself as nothing compared to them, specifically then you can receive strength from them. And once you acquire enough of that strength, you can execute the love of friends. And from the love of friends, the love of the Creator. And this is all that we're aspiring to do. So all we need to do is just see the friends as great, myself as smaller, and that's it. We have the spiritual strength to implement everything we're trying to implement here. Any closing words? I think Zohar is with us. He can also give us a few words.
I'm in awe. I thought I was just going to come and support Albert technologically here. It turned out I wasn't needed technologically, but I was glued to the lesson. I was just amazed by every one of you. And it just shows that you're working, that you're really working on connecting. You're really working on your 10, and you're putting the efforts in the right place. It's amazing. And Albert, if before you were 1 million for me, now you're 1 trillion for me. And we're so fortunate to be chosen to be in this amazing society and to be able to do this work together. Thank you so much.
So, Chaim friends, for next week, there's going to be, just like this week, there was a series of questions, little things to workshop in the 10. Same thing, you guys will receive it in the email, some things to talk about in the 10. Also, if the men's 10 is feeling up to it, to give us another preparation to the lesson. What we had today was amazing. We want more. So we're putting you guys to the challenge once again. Let's see what you got to make next week even stronger. Okay, so those are the 2 things for this week. You're going to receive some questions to workshop in the 10s. Keep up the connection. If you have the opportunity, maybe to connect to Rav's lesson together, if that's if that's an opportunity yet. If not, we'll talk about it in the future. But for sure, we want more of the men's 10. We want you guys to do another preparation for us. Today was amazing. And that's it. Let's stay connected. We'll see each other next week.
Love you all. See you later.
L'chaim. Thank you, Albert.
Good night. Love you all.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, friends. Oh, look how your friends show you.